Koala Sampler is a great introduction to sampling, especially if you come from a synth background or a guitar player, someone who's just not ventured into sampling yet. This is a really simple, fun app. There are samplers built into GarageBand, Beatmaker 3, and other iOS music applications. You can even record the most basic samples with the voice memo recorder built into any iOS device like your iPhone. But the Koala Sampler brings it all together in a unique and easy to use interface. It takes only 20 minutes to learn, or maybe just 10 minutes if you've used any other sampler before. Koala costs $4 US or $5.49 Canadian from the Apple App Store or from the Google Android Store. It's a great deal for such a very useful and fun sampler. Here's the layout. It has different pages across the top. We're going to start with the sample page. The sample grid has 16 cells and 4 banks. That gives you a total of 64 samples. The sequencer page is used for creating patterns of those samples. There's 8 by 4 pattern spaces for a total of 32 patterns. Then there's a performance page where you can add effects like compression and reverb and filter. And that's where you're going to rehearse your performance. And last but not least, there's a menu with the ability to import and export, to record your song, and to do other things like import samples from a file or from a video. First, the sampling page. By default, it's ready to record a live sample from your built-in mic. It's pretty easy. You just touch a pad. Hello. 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 Then you can edit the sample if you want. Make it shorter. Hello. 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 Change the volume. Hello. Hello. Pitch. If you double click, it goes back to where it was from. Hello. And you can pan. Second page is the sequence page. This is where you play or record or set the tempo. You can turn the metronome off and on. You can set the tempo either by tap or by entering in a value. The default length starts out as 1 bar, but you can change that to multiple bars. Remember, your song can be any combination of the possible 32 patterns. And since you can copy, duplicate any pattern, you'll eventually start to think about the song structure, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, in terms of how many patterns do I need for each part. Typically, we're conditioned to understand music as a repeating pattern. Thank you, Bach. So you might have 4 patterns in your intro, 4 to 6 in your verse, 4 in your chorus, maybe 8 in your bridge or breakdown or solo. That's maybe 20 to 26 patterns you execute in a performance to record a song. Well, in the sequence mode, if you have a sample that is a melodic one, you can turn on this keyboard, choose the sample, and you can play that sample on a keyboard, either on the iPad itself or a Midi device. You can pick the chord that you want to play, the scale that you want to use. You can use a chromatic scale. Looks like a regular keyboard. Or you can pick a scale that will limit your notes to just the notes in that scale. I've set up this LaunchKey Mini to execute the samples. And you can see it resembles the 16 pads assigned to the first 16 in Bank A. If you used another device, like a LaunchPad, you'd have 64 pads to play around with. It might be a better choice for using it with Koala Sampler. The third page is the performance page. This is where you're going to play effects on a given sample. so you can get some interesting results playing with the effects. The next step is from the final menu, where you can save your work, start a new project, or load previously saved projects. You can also export your work in several different ways. To use these assets in another DAW like GarageBand or Beatmaker 3 on your iPhone or iPad, or to Ableton or Logic on a PC or Mac, there are 6 options to export a single sample or pattern, all samples or patterns, the complete song recording that you've created, or as Ableton Live Set. If you're an Ableton user, it's obvious. For other DAWs, you'll get single or multiple audio files, which you can import or drag into the DAW arrange or track view. Just one more thing on using an external Midi controller. If you go into Settings, Map Midi, you'll see you can assign any of these pads and have it learn the notes and pad sequences from your controller. It's pretty easy. You can assign the play and stop buttons. Actually, you can assign almost anything on here to an available pad or keyboard. Once you're done, you click on Stop Mapping. For a really small investment, it's effective and fun. Something you can do on your phone whenever you have the inspiration. Maybe you record doors slamming and use them for a drum set, or birds chirping for a melodic synth. There's endless possibilities. Just one more thing to consider. When you're in this sample mode and you want to do more sophisticated edits with your samples, there is something called Samurai. Its additional cost is $5.49. I think that's Canadian priced. And what you're getting with that is time stretching capabilities where there's algorithms built into the sampler that will adjust the time and pitch, either by not modifying the pitch or stretching the song to meet a certain pattern. You get a piano roll editor, which is pretty good if you're familiar with any other DAW. And there's some auto chop or slicing, it's commonly referred to in other samplers, for dicing up a multiple sample source like a drum beat that you've imported. It seems pretty good. I'm considering buying it, and there's a YouTube video where you can watch details about Samurai. Sometimes I get so excited about these nifty music apps for iOS, I swallow my gum. If this is the kind of stuff that interests you, click on subscribe and click on the notification bell. That way you'll find out when I release more videos. Thanks.